We hear a ton about AI that can talk. You know, chatbots, assistants, they can write an email, they can tell you a joke. But what about an AI that can actually do things? Today we're diving into Moltbot, the open source project that went absolutely viral because it's less of a chatbot and, well, more of a true digital coworker. So back in early 2026, this thing didn't just launch, it exploded. We're talking over 98,000 stars on GitHub, which, if you don't know, is basically how developers vote for what's cool and important. It grew faster than almost any project in history. And why? Because it finally delivered on a promise we've been hearing for years, an AI that can take real, actual action.
But that launch? Oh, it was pure chaos. I mean, in just 3 days, the project, which was first called Clawdbot, got so huge that AI giant Anthropic came knocking with a trademark issue. So the founder had to scramble, dealing with crypto scams and people squatting on domain names, and pull off a super fast rebrand. He landed on Moltbot, which is actually a pretty clever nod to how lobsters shed their old shells to grow bigger. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll unpack that viral launch. Then we'll get into what makes this so much more than a chatbot. We'll look at the proactive features that make it so powerful, talk about the slightly scary security side of things, and finally, what this all might mean for the future of AI.
Okay, so let's get into the story. Moltbot was created by a developer named Peter Steinberger, and it really represents what a lot of us thought assistants like Siri or Alexa were supposed to be. You know, not just a gimmick for setting timers, but a legitimate tool that actually helps you get work done. I think this quote from the 1Password blog just nails it. Incredible and terrifying. That's the exact feeling you get when you start to understand what this thing can do. It's this mix of pure excitement for what's possible and, you know, a healthy dose of fear about its power. Let's dig into why.
So what is the big deal here? What actually makes Moltbot so different from everything else out there? To get it, you have to kind of shift your thinking away from just a chatbot. This is a whole new category of AI assistant.
Here's the breakdown. The AI we're used to, think Siri, think ChatGPT, it lives in the cloud. It waits for you to ask it something, and it just gives you back text. Moltbot is the polar opposite. It's self-hosted, meaning it runs on your computer. It's proactive, so it can actually message you first. And this is the real game changer. It takes real, tangible actions on your machine. And all of that brings us to this really important term, AI agent. This isn't just about answering questions anymore. An agent is a system that can see what's going on, make a decision, and then, critically, act on that decision to get something done. It is a doer, not just a talker.
And this is the core philosophy that gets people so excited. It runs on a hardware that you own and control. We're talking a Mac, a PC, a server, or even a tiny little Raspberry Pi. You talk to it through the apps you already use every day, like WhatsApp or Slack. And because it's local first, your data, your files, they never leave your machine. They stay yours. Okay, so now let's get into the magic. What are the key features that give Moltbot these incredible powers and make it feel less like a tool and more like a teammate?
It really comes down to these 3 pillars. First, it's proactive. It can ping you with reminders or alerts on its own. Second, it has a memory. It remembers who you are and what you like using simple local text files. And third, and this one is kind of mind-blowing, it has extensible skills. You can teach it new things, and it can even learn to write the code for its own new skills. Yeah, you heard that right.
And check this out. This is so cool. You can literally define its personality in a simple text file called soul.md. This little snippet here tells it to cut the fluff. Don't say, "I'd be happy to help." Just help. It's such a simple but powerful way to give the AI its character.
So here's how one of those skills actually works. You just send it a message, something simple like, "Hey, resize this image for LinkedIn." Moltbot figures out, okay, I need my image editing skill. It runs the actual commands on your computer to do the work, and then boom, it sends the finished, resized image right back to you in the same chat. It's seamless. And when you start thinking about that power, the power to act directly on your computer, your mind starts racing, right? It makes you wonder, what is the most amazing or maybe the most terrifying task you would actually trust an AI agent with? Seriously, let us know in the comments. I am genuinely curious to read your ideas.
And that question leads us right into the most critical part of this whole conversation, because with great power, you know the rest. The risks of giving an AI this level of freedom on your computer are very, very real.
So this is the big one. The elephant in the room. Is it safe?
Well, even the creator calls giving an AI this kind of access spicy, which is one way to put it. The honest answer is, it's only as safe as you make it. And let's be clear, these dangers aren't just theoretical. A bad actor could send a tricky message to fool the AI into running dangerous code. A simple setup mistake could expose your passwords. The project is so popular, it's even attracted malware. So at the end of the day, the responsibility for keeping it secure lands squarely on you, the user. But the good news is, you're not going in blind. The official documentation has a whole checklist of best practices. They tell you never expose it directly to the internet, run it in something called a Docker container, which is like putting it in a digital sandbox so it can't mess with the rest of your system, and give it the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job. All right, so let's zoom out for our final section. Beyond all the hype and the very real risks, what does a phenomenon like Moltbot tell us about where personal AI is actually going? This quote from a user in the community just says it all. AI as teammate, not tool. For so many people, this is the first time AI has felt less like a gadget and more like a partner, something that works alongside you, that remembers things, that has its own agency.
Because really, this is about more than just one cool app. It feels like the start of a movement. A shift away from renting our AI from big tech clouds and toward a future where we own and control our own powerful AI infrastructure right on our own machines.
And that leaves us with a pretty wild final thought. We're moving from a world of AI as a service to AI as a system that you actually own. So the question isn't really if we'll work with AI anymore. The question is, will your next digital coworker be running on a server farm thousands of miles away, or will it be running on a little box sitting right there on your desk?
Hey, if you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new about Moltbot, do us a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the technology that is changing our world. Thanks for watching.